Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of July 29th through August 4th of 2024. All right, so this week is a bit of a quiet week astrologically, but as we get to the weekend, it does become quite important. So on Sunday, we have a new moon, which means this week is definitely the ending phase of the lunar cycle. As we approach Sunday, good to let the energies die down, do a bit of a reset, and really complete things in the context of what we've been involved with these past few weeks. Now, also around Sunday, but going into Monday of next week, Mercury will go retrograde. So a bit of a pause, a bit of a station with Mercury over this weekend. Good to maybe slow down with some of the day-to-day activities. Maybe starting to reflect on the things we've been thinking about for the past few months. So during the next 3 weeks, while Mercury's retrograde, we will be rethinking, rehashing a lot of the things we have been thinking about. And so good to start to gear up for that. Good to slow down with some of these things and really start to look at our day-to-day life and things we've been thinking about from a different perspective late this week. But the bulk of the week is quite quiet, except for Friday. We do have a major aspect. Venus, the planet of our values and relationships, will be in a square with erratic but yet very freeing Uranus. So Uranus here wants us to enjoy things in a different way, have a little bit more flexibility in our life, and perhaps connect in our relationships in a different way as well. So it's great to listen to that, and this can end up being actually quite constructive, where we're noticing a little bit more spontaneity, a little bit more change, a little bit more freedom in our enjoyments and relationships. But it will definitely take that intention to do so with this square. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, July 29th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. Unfortunately, you won't see mainstream using the visible sky because they use a seasonal system, which is based more on the seasonal cycle or the seasonal calendar. And so the signs are different. And so if you're noticing, a lot of these signs are different. Like, for example, I'm saying that the new moon is in Cancer, but maybe you've heard it being in Leo at the moment. Definitely check out the link down below for more information on using the visible sky and how this is different from mainstream astrology. All right, so let's go ahead and just do a little bit of a recap. We don't have any major sign changes this week, but we did last week. We had Venus recently enter Leo. But anyways, the sun is finishing Cancer this week for most intents and purposes. We are going to have that new moon at the end of Cancer here on Sunday. And so this next lunar month will still be involving Cancer energy. But the strongest of it has been lately, and I would say still finishing this week with the sun here. So focusing on how we can create a protective and safe environment for ourselves and others as well. Cancer is about connecting more to our emotional bodies, our bodies in general, maybe reflecting on the past a little bit, maybe things from our past sort of coming up to be brought into focus, to be maybe cultivated a little bit. So great to, again, connect to more of the intrinsic values of life, what's really important to us on an inner level, emotional and personal level with the sun here. Venus and Mercury, well set in Leo now. Again, Mercury will go retrograde on Sunday in Leo. So it's a great week for seeing the value of self-expression, the value of passion, love, enjoyment, entertainment, creative energy, and also just kind of thinking this way as well. Our minds have been here. So great to, while creating that more personal connection to life, also expressing ourselves, having a bit of fun, a bit of playfulness, all of that can be great with the Leo energy. And of course, Mars is still, like he always does, taking his time, but here, especially in Taurus, which is all about taking our time with things. So it's great when we're putting our action into things, which is Mars, where we're setting our intentions, where we're being proactive, that we do take things slowly one step at a time, and stop to smell the roses. Taurus is all about connecting to the more sensual life, the slower life, and the more resourceful life, mustering up our inner resources, inner strength, self-reliance, self-worth, in order to cultivate the things we want in life, in order to be proactive and take action in life. So taking that more grounded approach to how we're asserting ourselves has also been the case and will continue to be the case this week. Now, as you can see here, the aspects, like I said, are quite quiet. We do have that major aspect with Venus, but that's pretty much it for the aspects. And then, of course, the new moon on Sunday. But building up to that, on Monday, we're going to have the moon in Taurus, adding to that resourceful energy. In fact, Monday through Wednesday. So these first 3 days of the week, really good for this, taking that step back, maybe connecting to a little bit of nature, maybe having a little of that relaxation, or connecting to, again, that sensual life, and probably some themes around cultivating not only the outer resources, the outer enjoyments, the outer steadiness, but also the inner one as well. We could notice themes around mustering up that self-worth, mustering up those inner strengths, natural talents, self-reliance in order to cultivate things in life. So that whole building of our inner and outer resources is definitely the major theme these first few days of the week while the moon is activating that part of the sky. Now, Venus will be trining Chiron on Tuesday. Nothing major with this, but there could be a little bit of an opening for some healing in our connections. That can be our own personal connections. Again, these enjoyments, Venus does represent Taurus energy, so things we're valuing and enjoying in life can actually be quite therapeutic and quite healing. And in fact, using that more grounding or earthy energy for healing can be great. Now, also with relationships as well, maybe noticing a little bit of that healing and therapeutic energy available for that also. Nothing major with Chiron, but just something I want to mention as a very slight backdrop to probably these first few days of the week as well. Then we do enter into August here, and as we do that, the moon will shift into Gemini, and this is where we're going to really start to feel the ending of the lunar cycle, because of course the last new moon, the last lunar cycle that we're finishing up now, started in Gemini. So this is all about completing things, and I would say, especially by the time we do get to Thursday all the way through Sunday, how can we create that space? How can we complete things? How can we use this as a little bit more of a clearing time in order to make space for these new beginnings around the corner? So a great time for a little bit more of that inner kind of retreating and reflection on the past 3 or 4 weeks, and completing anything that has been in the works the past 3 or 4 weeks, and maybe specifically the past, since the last full moon, which is the past couple weeks, depending on, so if you're watching this at the end of this week, then the past couple weeks. So completion, ending, closing things out, and most importantly, creating some space. Now, Gemini is all about getting more into that practical life. That's what this whole lunar cycle was about. Cultivating more of our interest in terms of what we're curious about, maybe a little bit of exchanging with others, a little bit more flexibility, adaptive. It's more of that kind of thinking mind, adaptive mind, flexible mind that Gemini helps us cultivate. So certainly a good couple days here in particular, Thursday and Friday, for closing out some of that Gemini mental, communicative, practical kind of energy that this whole lunar cycle has been about developing. Now, Friday is where we have Venus squaring Uranus. So again, a little bit of a clash here, a little challenging collectively, but it can be very constructive, as all squares are all about building and all about really integrating energy. And so what I think Uranus is helping us integrate with an aspect like this is to have a little bit more flexibility and challenge our own status quo a little bit. Where are we set in our own ways? Where are we having a little bit of maybe overly comfort zones? And how can we mix that up, right? Kind of spruce things up, think outside the box, innovate, and again, get outside that comfort zone. So this is specifically relating to a lot of the values, that Taurus kind of energy we're talking about. So anything in the realm of enjoyments, resources, maybe finances, anything that's about connecting to the resources of life or the enjoyments of life, really good to, again, maybe get outside of our comfort zone with. There can be a little bit of unexpected energy, a little bit out of left field with Uranus, but again, it's there to show us or even teach us to be a little bit more flexible. So if we go into this thing, being open to having more flexibility and being open to having new experiences and challenging our own status quo, then great. That's what makes it very constructive. So any intentions around creating a little bit more change in our enjoyments of life, a little bit more spontaneity in what we're valuing and enjoying, is really a great way of working with this. And that's really likely what's to solidify with this aspect. Now, of course, Venus can also double as relationships as well. So it sort of goes without saying that it's also good to be flexible with anything there, a little bit more adaptive, and again, getting outside of our comfort zones with our relationships and our interpersonal connections. Okay, so that is the only major aspect of the week. It's kind of why I went into depth with it. It's not a super major aspect or anything, but just a good way of working with, I would say, this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, peaking Friday for most of us, kind of an energy there. Okay, again, with the context that we're still closing out the lunar cycle, Saturday, the moon will shift into Cancer, again, gearing up for that new moon. So this is the reset time of the month, and it will be on Sunday. And so anything that is about listening to what's starting to arise. Again, I'll talk more about this next week once the seeds do start to get planted. But I would say Sunday in particular, just good to listen, see what comes out of this, both in terms of what life wants us to develop and any new intentions we want to set for the month. And again, it will likely be in the theme of Cancer, of creating that environment, that foundation, that security for ourselves and others. The new moon will just be in a minor sextile with Mars and Jupiter. The fact of us starting to cultivate more of that resourceful energy and grounding energy can actually be quite supportive for this new moon as well. All right, and then lastly, Mercury will be stationed again, technically going into Monday here, but I would say certainly on Sunday it's good to pause with things. Again, listen to the new moon, but also maybe see how there's some new perspectives starting to get reworked, particularly in whatever you've been thinking about the past few months, maybe even doing the past few months. This is likely to go over some kind of reflection period here, especially the past month, let's say, once Mercury gets really close to what's called the shadow, or the area of the sky where he does go retrograde. So whatever you've been, let's say, thinking about recently, whatever you've been doing recently, this is a great next 3 weeks to start to reflect on, start to approach a little bit differently, experiment, and be open to change, because Mercury wants us here to kind of go back and redo, re-edit, and reconsider things in a way that, now it gives us the time to see what it means to us, to see what it is we really want, or what's really in flow with life, or what's part of our life path. Basically, what's most in alignment, Mercury is now helping us kind of go back and redo or reconsider in order to align to our life energy more. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. Most importantly here is the ending of the lunar month as we approach the weekend, close out, creating space, and then on Sunday going into next week, setting some new intentions, seeing what new arises out of this new moon, and again, starting to rework, rethink, reconsider some of the stuff we've been thinking about with Mercury retrograde. The only major aspect is Venus square Uranus. That apex is on Friday. A little bit of flexibility and adaptability with our values and relationships can go a long ways. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you haven't yet gotten your True Sidereal report, there's a link down below for that. It's absolutely free. Just type in your birth details and you'll see the placements of your true sidereal signs, again, being very different from mainstream astrology. But again, have a great one. Thank you for all of your support, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.